Have you ever closed your eyes at night, hoping for peace, only to find your mind refusing to rest? Memories crash against you, regrets replay in slow motion, and fears whisper like a storm outside your window. You toss, you turn, and it feels like sleep itself has abandoned you. Yet, what if those restless hours, the moments you spend trapped in silence, staring at the dark ceiling while no one else is watching, were not a curse, but a hidden gift? What if your mind, even in those long nights of struggle, could be sharpened, rewired, and reforged into something unshakable, if only you embraced the raw, brutal clarity the Stoics once lived by? The Stoics believed that the human mind is never chained, not by circumstance, not by fear, not even by the ticking of time. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That reaction doesn't stop the moment your head touches the pillow. It echoes deep into your subconscious, shaping who you are becoming, even while you drift in and out of restless sleep. Every thought, every choice, every principle you carry during the day follows you into the night. And those unseen hours can either drag you further into weakness or push you silently toward strength. In this video, I'll walk you through 5 Stoic principles that don't just change how you live in daylight. They continue working when your eyes are closed. These are not gentle comforts. They are sharp edges. They cut through lies you tell yourself, through illusions that weaken you, through habits that keep you small. They will demand something of you. They may even sting. But the truth is, nothing liberates the human spirit faster than discipline and clarity. And when the mind is rewired with those forces, life itself begins to bend in your favor. We'll take it step by step. Transformation isn't rushed. It's forged slowly, like iron under fire. But as we go deeper, the intensity will build. These won't just be words floating in your ears. They'll feel like they're being carved into the deepest part of you. As you listen, memories of weakness, of fear, of helplessness will rise to the surface. But instead of haunting you, they will finally make sense. Because you'll realize the Stoics weren't speaking about some distant, ancient world. They were speaking about you. This isn't just philosophy. It's a mirror held up to your own life. Every principle you'll hear tonight, you've already lived. You've known the sting of envy, the burning weight of anger, the chains of uncertainty. But what you haven't done, until now, is use them as fuel. That's what this journey is about. To take those very struggles and rewire them into strength so deep, it follows you into your sleep. By the time this video ends, you won't just see things differently. You'll feel the shift, like something inside you has been unchained. So if you're ready to turn sleepless nights into silent training grounds for your soul, stay with me until the end. Don't skip a moment. And before we dive in, make sure you like this video, share it with someone who's losing battles in their own mind, and subscribe to the channel. Because what you're about to hear isn't just advice. It could reshape the way you live with your thoughts forever. And as we begin, I want you to leave an affirmation in the comments. Write it not just as words, but as a commitment to yourself. The first one is this: my mind transforms even in silence. So let's begin. The mind is a relentless architect of suffering, building monuments to every moment you've been shattered. It doesn't just remember pain, it worships it, constructing shrines in the darkest corners of your consciousness where shadows breed like demons. Those scars aren't mere marks, they're living entities that claw through your thoughts when silence falls and you're trapped with the thunderous roar of your own torment. A betrayal becomes a phantom limb, aching in unpredictable storms. A harsh word transforms into the cruel narrator of every failure. A moment of feeling small becomes the poisoned lens through which you view every opportunity for greatness. Your subconscious is a deranged film director, obsessively replaying your worst moments with devastating precision until memory and reality dissolve into a cocktail of anguish you're forced to drink nightly. This is why sleep feels like warfare, why rest feels like surrender, why peace seems reserved for the people who haven't been obliterated and forced to walk on shards of their former selves. But the ancient Stoics grasped something profound. Wounds aren't endpoints, they're raw materials. Seneca carved into eternity the words that echo through suffering souls. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Let that truth burn in your chest like liquid fire. The agony stealing your sleep, your breath, your faith, half exists only in your mind's theater, performed by actors made of shadow and fear. Your mind replays trauma because it speaks only survival's dialect. Remember every threat, catalogue every danger. Prepare for devastation because devastation already struck. But reframing teaches your consciousness a revolutionary language. Instead of the haunting question, "Why did this happen to me?" you demand the answer that separates conquered from conqueror. What strength did this pain force from me that I never knew existed? This isn't pretty positive thinking. This is psychological warfare against limitation itself. This is seizing what was designed to destroy you and forcing it into servitude. When you shift that fundamental question, something seismic erupts in your mind's architecture. Neural pathways once leading to despair's dead ends become superhighways to unbreakable power. Envision your pain as molten metal pulled from hell's furnaces. Untouched, it incinerates everything: relationships, dreams, ambitions reduced to ash. But in a master blacksmith's hands, which you become through this principle, that same metal transforms into something magnificent. Every scar becomes potential steel. Every agony becomes raw material for weapons no enemy can shatter, because they were forged in your destruction's fires. The subconscious absorbs everything, your strength moments and weakness whispers alike. Train your thoughts to see pain as power, scars as indestructibility proof rather than fragility evidence, and your subconscious drinks this programming like desert sand drinks rain. This rewiring accelerates in sleep's depths, seeping into dreams, rewriting nightmares, transforming rest from battlefield into forge. The key isn't hope. Hope is for those who haven't discovered their power. The key is warrior intense repetition. Every waking moment, remind yourself with battle preparation fervor, my scars testify survival. My pain teaches. My wounds are credentials, not shame. Then you wake transformed, not healed. Warriors seek strength, not healing. You wake forged. Nights stop being demon wrestling matches and become hours when demons transform into guardian angels, when wounds become power sources rather than weakness fountains. This first brutal principle demands everything. Take what broke you and make it your unbreakable foundation. You don't erase pain, you forge it into strength's source. Once your subconscious grasps that every wound is a weapon waiting to be wielded, your nights transform from ghost-haunted hours into fierce spirit sanctuaries of who you're becoming. The Stoics understood something that would make modern neuroscience bow in reverence. The last thought before sleep isn't just a fleeting whisper, it's a sacred seed planted in the fertile darkness of your subconscious mind. This isn't metaphorical poetry. This is psychological architecture at its most primal level. Your final thought becomes the blueprint your mind follows for 8 hours of unguarded construction, building either a fortress of strength or a prison of self-destruction. If that seed is poisoned with worry, corroded with regret, or burning with rage, your subconscious becomes a devoted gardener, watering that toxicity all night long until it grows into a monstrous tree whose roots strangle your peace, and whose branches block out every ray of hope that tries to reach you. But here's where the power lies. If you plant a seed of crystal clarity, unshakable gratitude, or iron discipline, your mind becomes an alchemist in the shadows, transmuting that thought into pure psychological gold while your body rests. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the greatest empire the world had ever known, understood this with the intensity of a man who held the fate of nations in his hands, yet knew his greatest battle was fought in the arena of his own consciousness. Each night, he would pour the chaos from his mind onto parchment, bleeding out the noise, the doubt, the endless screaming of responsibility, until only what truly mattered remained crystallized in the silence. He knew what modern sleep researchers are just beginning to grasp. The subconscious doesn't clock out when consciousness fades. It shifts into overdrive, amplifying whatever signal you've chosen to broadcast. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, Aurelius carved into history. And those words should haunt you because they reveal an inescapable truth. You are literally painting your inner world with every thought you choose as your final masterpiece before surrendering to sleep. What color are you handing your soul when the lights go out? Are you painting it the sickly yellow of anxiety, the blood red of anger, the suffocating black of despair? Or are you choosing the brilliant gold of determination, the deep blue of tranquility, the blazing white of unstoppable resolve? Imagine your last thought as a sacred key you hand to the guardian of your subconscious, a sentinel who stands watch over the gates of your inner kingdom while you're defenseless in sleep's embrace. If that key is broken, jagged with negativity, and sharp with self-doubt, you're essentially instructing the guard to throw open the gates to every demon that wants to feast on your peace. Chaos floods in like a black tide, and you wake up feeling like you've been at war all night because you have been at war with yourself. But if that key is forged from clarity and sharpened with intention, you're commanding the guardian to lock the fortress gates against weakness and swing wide the golden doors to strength, courage, and unbreakable resolve. This isn't about forcing artificial positivity like some desperate attempt to convince yourself everything is sunshine and rainbows when you're walking through hell. This is about choosing intentional clarity with the precision of a sniper selecting his target. Your last thought might be raw and honest. I faced the storm today, and it tried to break me, but I'm still standing, still breathing, still fighting. Or it might be a declaration of war against tomorrow's challenges. Tomorrow will test every fiber of my being, and I will rise to meet it like a warrior born for battle. The weight of your day doesn't matter. The mistakes, the failures, the moments when you felt like giving up, none of that matters if you reclaim your power in that final sacred moment before sleep. Too many people surrender this crucial moment to pure chance, scrolling mindlessly through digital poison, dwelling obsessively on people who wounded them, replaying their failures like a broken record stuck on the most painful song ever recorded. Then they wonder why sleep feels like psychological warfare, why rest feels like torture, why they wake up more exhausted than when they went to bed. You must guard that final moment with the ferocity of a mother protecting her child, because your subconscious doesn't argue, doesn't negotiate, doesn't judge. It simply obeys whatever command you give it in that last powerful instant before consciousness dissolves. The greatest assassin of peace isn't external chaos. It's the death grip you maintain on things that were never yours to command, the suffocating stranglehold you place on outcomes that dance beyond your reach, like shadows mocking your desperation. You lie in bed like a prisoner chained to your own thoughts, replaying conversations that are already carved in stone, obsessing over decisions that belong to other souls, terrorizing yourself with phantom futures that exist only in the twisted theater of your imagination. This is the ultimate torture chamber, a mind that refuses to release its claws from what was never meant to be held, fingers bloodied from gripping smoke and wind, while your sanity slowly bleeds out through the cracks of your delusions. Epictetus, who understood suffering because he lived it in chains both literal and metaphorical, carved into eternity the words that could liberate every tormented soul. Some things are in our control, and some things are not. But here's the brutal, soul-crushing truth that most people spend their entire lives running from. We dedicate the majority of our existence to being slaves of what was never ours to begin with. Prisoners in cells whose keys we threw away the moment we decided we could control the uncontrollable. Envision your mind as a sacred chamber, a fortress where peace should reign supreme. But instead of tranquility, you've transformed it into a hellish storage unit, cramming every corner with the rotting clutter of uncontrollable fears, suffocating anxieties, and venomous what-ifs, until there's no oxygen left for rest to breathe. Sleep becomes a battlefield where exhausted thoughts clash like warriors who've forgotten what they're fighting for, and you wake up feeling like you've been buried alive and clawed your way back to consciousness, more depleted than when you surrendered to the darkness. But when you finally summon the warrior's courage to release what was never yours, something miraculous happens. Your mental fortress transforms from a chaotic wasteland into a cathedral of serenity. Releasing isn't surrender. It's the most savage form of self-respect imaginable. It means drawing a line in the sand with the blood of your own ego and declaring with the voice of thunder, "This torment belongs to fate's cruel hands. This power belongs to me. If you can act, then unleash hell in your action. If you cannot, then release with the finality of death itself." Picture yourself standing at the edge of a raging river, your arms heavy with stones carved from worry, each one representing a fear you cannot control, a future you cannot predict, a person you cannot change. One by one you hurl these stones into the merciless current, watching the water swallow them whole and carry them to oblivion. With each release, your shoulders don't just grow lighter, they grow stronger. Your spine doesn't just straighten, it becomes unbreakable steel, forged in the fires of acceptance. This is the metamorphosis that occurs in your subconscious when you train yourself daily to let go with the discipline of a monk and the ferocity of a warrior. By the time your eyes finally close, your mind no longer claws desperately at phantoms it cannot grasp. It rests like a king in his castle, recovers like a phoenix rising from ashes, and rebuilds itself into something magnificent and untouchable. The Stoics lived with death standing right beside them, not to drown in despair, but to breathe in freedom. They didn't shut their eyes to it, they stared it down. Marcus Aurelius carved it into his meditations. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Imagine holding that sentence like a burning coal in your chest, not as a weight to crush you, but as a flame that clears the fog of triviality. That's not morbid. It's liberation in its rawest form. Every night when you sink into your bed, you are already stepping into a small rehearsal of death. You close your eyes, not knowing if the dawn will grant you another breath. Yet most people stumble into the night drunk on distraction, scrolling, numbing, silencing the truth with noise. They live as if time is infinite, as if tomorrow is promised. But tomorrow is a gambler's lie. And the Stoic path does not deal in lies. It takes death by the collar and says, "Stay here, walk with me, show me how fragile I am so I can finally live awake." So when the darkness swallows the room, whisper this to your soul: "If I do not wake, let me leave with peace. If I wake, let me rise with purpose." Say it like a vow. Say it like you're speaking to eternity itself. In that whisper, your entire world bends. The grudges you carried all day suddenly look like ashes. The arguments you replay in your head dissolve into nothing. Even tomorrow's looming fears shrink back into their cage. Because when you accept death, life stops slipping through your fingers. Every second becomes sharp, sacred, burning with weight. Think of death as a shadow welded to your side. Most run from it, terrified, imagining it stalks them like a hunter. But when you turn, when you face it eye to eye, that shadow changes. It no longer chases, it simply follows. Silent, patient. Not a curse, but a reminder. It whispers, "Do not waste this hour. Do not waste this chance." And when you accept that whisper, your restless mind finally softens. For nothing haunts the human spirit more than the denial of the inevitable, and nothing frees it more than surrendering to truth. When you confront mortality each night, your days transform. Sleep becomes lighter, not the heavy collapse of exhaustion, but a surrender into calm. And waking becomes a victory. Each morning is a resurrection. You rise not by accident, but by grace. You rise as if the universe handed you another day and dared you not to squander it. That realization is not darkness. It is a beam of clarity piercing through the shallow fog of life. So the fourth principle is carved in fire: confront mortality each night. Do not let sleep be just sleep. Let it be your daily rehearsal for the inevitable, a practice of surrender that hardens your spirit and sharpens your will. Because when you dare to face the silence of death, your waking hours ignite with unshakable purpose. The world does not just feed your stomach, it shoves endless food into your mind. Scrolls, headlines, gossip, notifications, the chatter of people who speak without thinking. Your subconscious swallows it all, whether you notice or not. And then you wonder why you feel exhausted even before the day begins. You've been gorging on poison, and your mind has been digesting it in silence, burning itself out while you sleep. The Stoics understood fasting, but not just from food. They spoke of fasting from noise, from distraction, from everything that rots the inner world. Seneca carved it into words that still stab through centuries. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Waste, yes, that's the disease. You waste your mental strength on empty chatter, on the carnival of distractions, on the shallow drips of entertainment that leave you hungrier than before. And then you wonder why your nights are restless, why your mornings feel hollow. Mental fasting is not about deprivation, it is about power. It means that in the hours before sleep, you deny your mind its poison. No gossip, no glowing screens screaming headlines, no mindless scroll through other people's filtered lives. You starve the noise, and instead, you feed your mind with silence, with reflection, with the stillness that most people run from as if it were fire. Imagine drifting into sleep, not bloated with trash, but sharpened by clarity. Imagine your subconscious resting not in chaos, but in order. That is mental fasting. Picture your mind as a flame. Every distraction, every headline, every whisper of gossip is smoke that suffocates it. You don't notice at first, but over time, the flame flickers, weakens, becomes unstable. But when you cut away the noise, when you fast from the constant flood of information, the smoke clears. The flame grows taller, steadier, unshaken by winds. And through the night, that flame does not die. It burns quietly, silently rewriting your subconscious into something sharper, cleaner, more unbreakable. This practice is not gentle. It feels brutal at first, like tearing away an addiction, because that's what noise is, an addiction. The world designs it that way, to keep you overstimulated, to keep you distracted, to keep you weak. And when you cut it off, silence rushes in. At first, silence feels unbearable because silence shows you yourself. It strips you naked. It forces you to face the truths you've buried under endless noise. But once you stop running, once you finally let silence sit with you, something changes. Silence becomes your teacher, your companion, your ally. And in that silence, your sleep deepens. The restlessness evaporates. Your dreams stop being haunted by the static of the day. You wake not foggy, not drained, but sharpened, as if the night itself forged you into steel. You begin to realize that silence is not emptiness. It is food for the soul, the purest fuel for the subconscious. Protect that silence like fire in a storm. Guard it as if your life depends on it, because it does. For the world will always try to choke your flame with smoke, to bury your mind under noise. But when you starve the chaos and feed your spirit with stillness, you reclaim the only thing that can never be replaced: your clarity, your power, your peace. These 5 principles are not gentle. They do not whisper. They cut like blades. They tear into the illusions you've built around yourself and force you to face the marrow of existence. They drag you through pain, through silence, through mortality itself. They make you confront what you've spent years avoiding: the loss of control, the finality of death, the restless noise, the weight of your last thought. They do not comfort. They transform, and that is why they work. They don't decorate the surface of your life with hollow slogans. They pierce into the deepest part of you, the subconscious, the place where your fears crawl and your desires burn. They dig their way in like fire through dry wood, rewiring you even when your body collapses into sleep. You wake different, not because you dreamed it, but because you lived it in silence. Every scar you carry, do not curse it. Do not hide it. That scar is steel in the making. Every final thought that crosses your mind before sleep, it is not an ending, but a seed taking root in the soil of your soul. Every release of bitterness, every surrender of control, it clears the air of your room. It frees the prison you built yourself into. Every confrontation with death, it sharpens your heartbeat. It brightens your vision. It turns your hours into burning torches. And every fast from noise, every refusal to gorge on distraction, keeps your inner flame steady, tall, unbroken. This is the alchemy of the Stoics. This is how a man is rebuilt. You want transformation? It is not found in wishing. Wishing is a child's game. Transformation happens by wiring, by carving, by fire. These principles do not hand you peace. They forge you into peace. They do not give you clarity. They demand it. And when you give yourself to them fully, when you bleed through them, rise through them, wrestle with them, you discover something terrifying and beautiful. you discover that you were never weak, only unfocused. The Stoics left us maps, carved with their own pain, their own nights of silence, their own battles against death. They handed us the path, but walking it has always been a choice, and if you've stayed with me this far, it means you are ready. Ready because you have carried restless nights on your shoulders. Ready because you have walked through wounds that whispered to you in the dark. Ready because you have felt the exhaustion of noise, the weight of chaos, and still you hunger for something greater. So now the path is clear. Rewire your mind. Not in comfort, not in luxury, not in shallow noise, but in silence, in discipline, in confrontation with the very things you fear. Rewire it even in silence. Rewire it even in darkness. Rewire it even in sleep. And when you rise tomorrow, you will not rise the same. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. My mind rewires itself into strength. Let it be a vow, a scar written in words. And if these words struck you, if they rattled your chest, then like this video, share it, and subscribe, because this is not the end. This is the opening of a new battlefield, and you have only just stepped onto it.